I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and who sort of came into this world during this nightmare. And every time it gets really hard, or some people are being absolutely ridiculously cruel, I just look to her and I'm like, I cannot send her out into the world where she does not have the right to say no to a man if that man claims to have a gender identity. I would be a bad mother if I didn't do something about it. So I think it's just, sometimes you don't want to be doing something, but it falls on your lap and you have to rise to the occasion. And so here I am.
Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So we have a female-only gym in Australia, and they have come under fire recently because they refused to give membership to a trans-identifying male. And they were very, very clear as to their reasons. And they are not apologising, they are doubling down, they're standing by their decision to refuse this person gym membership. And I love to see it. Now you would think that a lot of these businesses or these companies would be walking on eggshells because of the Tickle versus Giggle case, which is now Giggle versus Tickle, I believe, because of the appeal. But no, this gym is saying in no uncertain terms that if you are male, you will not be given membership. You will not be allowed to join the gym. Remember in the UK, we had Natalie, who was preparing to open a women-only gym over in South London, I believe, and she received a barrage of abuse online because she made it clear that it was for females only.
This is not just a gym. Like, so many of the women that are coming to my women's only gym is because they have also been sexually assaulted or sexually harassed or faced gym intimidation inside mixed gyms and faced that by men. So it's very important to know that this was not an easy decision. I didn't just wake up. I didn't just say, oh, no trans women allowed. Like, I've really thought this through. And like when I made that tweet in 2021 about being trans inclusive, I had just started this project. I was 21 years old, or 20 years old actually at the time. And what the girl spot meant then is not what the girl spot means now. And that is why I said in my video that I'm labeling it as a single sex space and it'll be female only, because I want to do so many classes around self-defense so that women can defend themselves against men, so that like boxing and Muay Thai is so incredibly important at the girl spot. And I want to do classes on like PCOS and like hormone imbalances and training on our menstrual cycle. So it is very much female orientated.
Although before she was open to the idea of trans-identifying males joining the gym, she said, no, I've changed my mind now because I understand the full implications of doing that. I understand the impact it will have on female members. She opened the gym because she herself had faced SA at the gym. She knows other women who have been harassed, who have experienced SA while at the gym. Obviously, when it's a women-only gym, that excludes men. It's very simple. Just like anything that's men-related, if it's only for men, that literally excludes women. So this gym in Australia, they said, yeah, we do not include men in our gym membership. We exclude men. And that includes men who identify as women. So this is great to see. It's good to see that this gym is standing by the principle of a woman-only establishment, a woman-only facility that they are providing, and they're not running scared because of, the threat of being sued or the threat of being harassed by men who want to infringe upon that space. So this is a fitness chain. It is known in Australia as a women-only gym, and it's called Fernwood Fitness. And they're speaking out. They're saying exactly why they denied this person membership. The gym goer recently shared an alleged correspondence with a Fernwood Fitness staff member on a transgender Reddit forum. And this is what it alleged to have said. I'm sorry, the Fernwood company policy is not inclusive of transgender women. Fernwood offers membership only to biologically born females who identify as female. If you wish to discuss this further, please direct questions to our head office. So the person who posted this correspondence on Reddit said that they had no idea that this was even a problem, that this was even a thing, and questioned whether it was against the law. I've not been out for all that long. This is the first time discrimination has happened so directly and personally. It caught me off guard. So this is a chain of gyms that is women only and has 70 locations across Australia. It is not known at what exact location the issue occurred, but the poster lives in Victoria. And this is a screenshot of the correspondence, the alleged correspondence. A spokesperson for Fernwood Fitness told news.com.au Fernwood Fitness proactively reached out to the person in question to acknowledge her as an individual and to talk about her experience. Obviously, some people are so polite, they will still use the she, her pronouns. It is what it is. This outreach was made with genuine care, recognizing the personal nature of her inquiry. Fernwood appreciates the courage it can take to inquire about a membership as a transgender woman and acknowledges that the experience may have been hurtful or disappointing. Fernwood Fitness extends its sincere empathy in response. Okay. At the same time, okay, now this is getting good. Fernwood Fitness has a responsibility to consider the needs of its broader member community. A significant number of Fernwood Fitness members come from backgrounds where experiences of DV, SA, cultural beliefs, or religious practices necessitate access to female-only spaces based on sex. For many of these women, such spaces are not a preference, but a requirement for their emotional and physical safety and for accessing the health and fitness services they need. This is not a reflection on personal identity, but rather a commitment to maintaining the integrity of a space that many women rely on. They're not just coming out and saying, deal with it, you're not allowed to join. I would have come out with more of a statement like that. They sound so compassionate towards this person, but they also sound compassionate towards the women. There's the difference. A lot of these places that want to be open to people who identify as trans, they want to open up these women's spaces, they sound like they couldn't care less about the women. They sound resentful towards women that have an expectation of a female-only space. They sound very hateful and misogynistic towards women a lot of the time. You know, I wouldn't use the she, her pronouns, but this statement is very well done. And it's so true. There are women who have been through trauma, and in order for them to work out, they need a women-only space. They don't even have anything against, you know, people who identify as trans. I've got nothing against those people, but they need a women-only space. It's a necessity in order for them to have that level of security, peace of mind, to just feel comfortable while working out, especially if you actually have suffered SA at the gym. Think about it. Use your head. It is not suggested that the trans woman in question presented a DV or SA risk. Of course not. Denying somebody who is male from entering into a female space, that is not an automatic accusation. And to say otherwise is very disingenuous. And it's not fair to take away that option, that women-only space. It's not fair to take those spaces away and open them up. This is an expectation they have. They rely on a women-only space actually being a women-only space. They rely on that. And it would be incompassionate and reckless to turn around and say to the woman, oh, well, actually, you know, if a man identifies as a woman, he's allowed in here, though. Planet Fitness, there was literally a man shaving in the women's locker room. Okay, so the article goes on to question if this is actually allowed. Are you allowed to exclude on the basis of sex? It's not the same as the UK, where the Equality Act 2010 has always been on the basis of sex. But in Australia, in 2013, the female Prime Minister actually added gender identity to the Sex Discrimination Act 1984 and basically erased women. According to the Sex Discrimination Act 1984, it is unlawful for a registered organisation in Australia to discriminate against a person on the grounds of their gender identity by refusing or failing to accept their application for membership. Gender identity refers to a person's internal sense of their own gender without regard to the person's designated sex at birth. The Fernwood fitness spokesperson stated that Fernwood is currently reviewing all relevant legal requirements. It's a real shame that these companies, unfortunately, do leave themselves open to litigation such as Tickle versus Giggle. They do leave themselves open to that. And it wouldn't surprise me if female-only spaces are being targeted by these narcissistic, entitled men. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Because these people have options. There are plenty of gyms that they can go to.
So, as you mentioned, the federal court judge ruled that your app, Giggle for Girls, had indirectly discriminated against a transgender person, Roxanne Tickle, and of course the appeal will be heard in a few months. How confident are you about the appeal?
I've always been really confident because I actually think that the truth always wins eventually. Sometimes you just really have to work for it. And in this, that's the case here, is really having to work for it. But as I said, I just don't think that ultimately Australia is going to be the last country doubling down on this absolute nonsense lie. And, you know, what has happened in Australia is a complete, as I said earlier, a complete muddling of our laws. It's very different to what happened in the UK and the US. They actually got to our laws here. They changed them.
Sal is single-handedly trying to change the laws back to what they should be. Because a man can come along and use the Sex Discrimination Act against women in Australia as it stands. So she's single-handedly trying to get the laws changed to reflect that everybody, male and female, should be given sex-based rights, not just males who identify as women. Gender identity is in conflict with rights pertaining to women, pertaining to females.
It seems that actual women like you, me and Moira have less rights than trans women. And Peter, it's really important to keep reminding everyone out there watching at home how this happened. This happened because of Julia Gillard's government when they amended the Sex Discrimination Act in 2013 and deleted the meaning of the word woman. They repealed the meaning of the word woman. They took it out of the act. So that's who we have to blame. You know, Julia Gillard, who everyone holds up as the feminist icon, she is responsible, and her government is responsible for leaving women in the situation that we currently are.
This is not an organisation that claims that trans women are women, and our Sex Discrimination Act is based on this. So that's part of where our constitutional argument comes in. If we win that constitutional argument in the High Court, it would mean that gender is taken out of the Sex Discrimination Act. So it would mean that sex is, once again, the defining factor of the Sex Discrimination Act, which is what a stupid sentence to have to say. But it would mean that female-only spaces were female again, female-only sports, and male-only spaces as well, because I think that men deserve privacy and dignity in male spaces as well. It would mean that self-ID was off the table. It would just end it.
So it's the constitutional argument that they're going for that has to be successful. They have to win on the constitutional basis. And obviously, your constitution should afford everybody those sex-based rights. And at the moment, it's falling short.
With gender identity being in the Sex Discrimination Act as it is, it doesn't actually even help the people it's claiming to help. It doesn't help all of these people with gender identities or who claim to be trans or anything. It literally only helps men who claim to be women so that they can override women's sex-based rights for spaces, sports, and services. It doesn't help women who claim to be men. It doesn't help any person who claims to be non-binary. They are all still relying on their sex-based rights. So for anyone to try and say that this is a left versus right issue or a culture war versus people who aren't trans versus people who claim to be are, it's not. This is about reality and making sure that everybody has rights. And because everyone has a sex, the best way to do that is with sex-based rights. Men should never, ever have been given any kind of privilege to go into women's spaces or sport.
This is what the judge in the UK said. No one's rights have been taken away by the clarification that was offered by the Supreme Court, because everybody has sex-based rights. So Australia needs to go back to sex-based rights as opposed to gender identity, as the UK has done. And as we've done over here in the US, it's just the Democrats who are trying to resist, what the current administration is trying to do. So the rest of the world is falling in line with reality again. So hopefully the judges will see that this is the way to go. So Fernwood Fitness, I wish them all the best. I'm glad they're sticking to their principles. I'm glad they understand the importance of protecting the integrity of the female-only space that they provide. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.